One was the free states and the other was the bound states. The free states we are at the end. Free particle আমাদের ডিটেলে ডিসকাশন হয়ে গেছে। স্টেপ পোটেনশিয়াল আমরা ডিটেলে ডিসকাস করেছি, পোটেনশিয়াল ব্যারিয়ারটা আমরা ডিসকাশন শুরু করেছিলাম সেটাই শেষ করব, অ্যান্ড ওটার একটু অ্যাপ্লিকেশন একটা যেটা সিলেবাসে আছে সেই অ্যাপ্লিকেশনটা করব। তো এই পার্টটা তাহলে শেষ হয়ে যায়, শেষ হয়ে গিয়ে যেটা আমাদের করতে হবে তাহলে we have to switch over to bound states, which is a totally different it is still application of Schrodinger equation. We will still have to solve Schrodinger equation, but then the approach is totally different and the outcomes are also totally different. So আমার মানে আই থট যে এটা শেষ করে আজকে এখানেই শেষ করব এবং পরের দিন আমরা একদম এইটা শুরু করব। আর এই জিনিসটা শুরু করলে আমার মনে হয় এই দুটোই একদিনে করে ফেলা যাবে। তো আই উইল ট্রাই যে এই পরের ওয়েডনেসডে ক্লাসটাতে আমরা বাউন্ড স্টেটসটা শুরু করে শেষ করে ফেলবো, বিকজ জাস্ট ওয়ান ডাইমেনশনাল রিজিড বক্সটাই ডিটেলে করলে তারপরে থ্রি ডাইমেনশনটা জাস্ট একটা ওটারই ওই প্রবলেমটারই জাস্ট একটু অ্যাডভান্সড স্টাডি, কাজেই এইটা ডিটেলে করলে এটার খুব একটা সময় লাগবে না। So so that's what I decided. So আজকের ক্লাসটা অন্য ক্লাসের থেকে একটু ছোট হবে, but I think that will not matter much because নোটটা আমি এই পোটেনশিয়াল ব্যারিয়ারের শেষ অবধি যে নোটটা এবং ফাইনাল নোটটা মেলে দেখবে আমি লিখেছি যে দিস ইজ এই অ্যাপ্লিকেশনস অফ Schrodinger ইকুয়েশনের যে নোটটা আমি লাস্ট ফিউ উইকস ধরে পাঠাচ্ছি, আজকে যেটা পাঠিয়েছি ওটা হচ্ছে ফাইনাল ভার্সন, মানে ওটাতে শুরু থেকে শেষ অবধি ফ্রি স্টেটসটা আছে, কাজেই ইউ ক্যান ডিসকার্ড দ্য আর্লিয়ার ভার্সনস অ্যান্ড কিপ টুডেজ ভার্সন টু গো থ্রু। আর প্লিজ আর একবারও বলছি যে যে ডিটেল ক্যালকুলেশনগুলো করা আছে সেগুলো কিন্তু হাতে নিজে নিজে করতে হবে, না হলে কিন্তু পুরোটা তো পুরো ক্যালকুলেশনগুলো বা ডেরিভেশনগুলো তো আসবে না, পার্ট পার্ট আসবে, কিন্তু এই হঠাৎ করে কিন্তু শুরু করতে পারবে না যদি মুখস্থ করার চেষ্টা করো, বিকজ মুখস্থ করে একদমই হবে না। ওকে, সো okay, so this is what we were doing, the step potential, and we know that we discussed that this is the kind of potential which we had discussed in our earlier class. What is it? The potential is 0 for most of the region on the x-axis except for a small interval 0 to a. So only within the interval 0 to a the potential has a value v naught, and less than 0 or greater than a the potential is 0. So the particle is basically free in region 1 and region 3, but it is moving under the action of a potential v naught in region 2. And so we discussed the analysis of the case when the particle is impinging on this potential barrier with an energy which is lesser than the value of the barrier value v naught. And we also discussed that classically this is a open and shut case, where if a particle comes and impinges on the barrier with an energy lesser than v naught, then it will simply bounce back into region 1. There is no other way, there is no other discussion. Particle comes, hits the wall, gets reflected back, that is it bounces back, period, finish. However, in quantum mechanics, if we treat this problem quantum mechanically, we saw that although the particle does get reflected partly into medium 1, however, there is a finite probability of it to pass on to medium 3 by tunneling through the barrier. This is the essence of this problem. So the new thing, remember in the step potential problem, we had come across the new term that is penetration. the particle was not moving on into the second region in step potential. Remember, the particle comes, hits the wall when it is coming with a energy lesser than the step. It is hitting the wall and gets reflected back, but there is also a finite probability of finding the particle within a short distance in the second region too. Whereas in this case, but there was no current density in the second region over there, right? The current density in region 2 was 0 in the step potential problem. However, here there is the particle actually tunnels through this barrier and also moves beyond the barrier into region 3. And so we solve Schrodinger equation in the 3 regions. This is the solution for region 1. Then we got the solution for region 2, which of course is an exponential function, whereas in region 1 it is a complex function. And then again in region 3 we get a complex function. And of course this kappa here and the kappa here are the same, because the particle is region 1 and region 3 are basically the same regions we having so the particle moving in these 2 regions will have the same wavelength or wave number. Okay, so next what we did was identify the terms, and we saw that we had the incident wave, the reflected wave, an exponentially increasing component within the barrier, an exponentially decreasing component within the barrier. And then in region 3 we had the transmitted wave, and of course we had also a wave traveling in the negative x direction. But then we argued that this is not possible because there is no obstacle at x greater than a which might reflect the particle back, and therefore this term cannot be present. And so the wave function psi3 is simply g e to the power I k x. It contains only one term, that is moving in the forward direction in region 3. Okay, and then we impose the boundary conditions at x equal to 0, which gave me these 2 equations, a plus b and a minus b, and adding them we got the value of a, subtracting them we got the value of b. Then at the position x equal to a, the second boundary, we again had the condition of continuity. So we got a relation between c, d and g, and then by the condition of continuity of their first derivatives we got the other relation between c, d and g, and then again adding and subtracting we got the values of c and d. And of course these 4, the highlighted 4 relations, are the relations that we required. So using these we got a and b in terms of c and d, and then since c and d are in terms of g, we finally got a and b in terms of g, which is a single constant. So basically what we are doing is we are finding all the constants in terms of a single constant g. Of course this is the relation that we used. And then in region 1, since the particle is free, this is the expression of the probability current density, so that according to the definition of the reflection coefficient, we get reflection coefficient to be mod b by a square. And then using the values of b by a and b by a star, we got an expression for the reflection coefficient. And using the values of beta and kappa, which are in terms of the values of E and V naught, we got a final expression of capital R, the reflection coefficient, in terms of E and V naught. And I just gave you a statutory warning, that very rigorous calculation. Okay. Then in region 3, again the particle is free. Again we get then a general expression of the probability current density, and we get the expression for transmission coefficient, and using values of A, G, beta and kappa, we get the value of the transmission coefficient, something like this. And of course if you put R and T together, you get the sum to be 1, which is in accordance with our concept of conservation of particle or energy, because it is only the incident particle that is getting partly reflected and partly transmitted. So the sum of the two should be equal to 1. There cannot be any destruction of energy over here. Once again, yes. Hello. Hello. কেউ কোয়েশ্চেন করছো? হ্যালো।
না ম্যাম জয়েন।
কেউ কি কোনো কোয়েশ্চেন করছো? কারোর কোনো কোয়েশ্চেন থাকলে আমাকে থামিয়ে জিজ্ঞেস করতে পারো। হ্যালো, আমাকে শুনতে পাচ্ছ তো? হ্যালো,
আমি শুনতে পাচ্ছি, বাট কয়েকজন বলছে শোনা যাচ্ছে না।
আমি শুনতে পাচ্ছি।
আচ্ছা, কে শুনতে পাচ্ছে না আমি কি করে বুঝবো?
দেবাশিস শুনতে পাচ্ছে না, দেবাশিস গ্রুপে বললো।
মানে তাহলে হতে পারে ওর কোনো নেটওয়ার্ক ইস্যুস হচ্ছে হয়তো, কারণ আমার তো কন্টিনিউয়াসলি চলছে, তোমরাও শুনতে পাচ্ছ বলছো। তাই না?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, ওটাই বললাম।
হ্যাঁ, দেখছি গ্রুপেও লিখেছে এখানে হচ্ছে না, এটাই কি?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ,
আচ্ছা, হ্যাঁ, তাহলে ওর কোনো নেটওয়ার্ক ইস্যুস হচ্ছে হয়তো। আচ্ছা, আমি তাহলে কন্টিনিউ করি।
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম।
হ্যাঁ, okay, so up to here basically we had done and we discussed certain points. We said that as when the energy of the incoming particle is 0, it is only then that there is no transmission, but as soon as the incoming particle has a finite energy, there will be a finite value of capital T, which is less than 1, but nevertheless there will be some transmission. Okay, and this is what we are calling tunneling, which is not possible according to classical physics, but it is happening because of the quantum mechanical treatment. We also saw that as you increase the energy of the incoming particle, the value of V naught minus E decreases, and then you can put it in the expression of T and show that T keeps increasing steadily with increasing E. So more the energy of the incoming particle, more will be the transmission to the region 3. Okay, and when the value of the energy of the incoming particle is close to the value of the potential barrier, we saw that the beta A term goes to 0, which shows that T is having this value 1 by 1 plus ma square v naught by 2h cut square, which is less than 1. So even when the value of the incoming particle, the energy value of the incoming particle is equal to the value of the barrier, even then there is not, we don't have total transmission. The transmission coefficient is still less than 1. All right. So even when E tends to V naught, T is less than 1. So this is the picture that we have. We have an incoming plane wave exponentially moving through the barrier, tunneling through the barrier, and then we have again a plane wave in region 3. Just the amplitude in region 3 is lesser than the amplitude in region 1, but the wave number or wavelength is the same. So this is what exactly is known as tunneling. Okay. So in the classical limit, we saw that this quantity, which is also called opacity because of the values of A, M, is a very large number, and so the transmission coefficient is vanishingly small, and it is quantum mechanics that makes a classically opaque barrier transparent. So what we should say is that in classical mechanics, why do we not have transmission? It is not because transmission is not possible. It is because the values in the macroscopic limit, the values of this constant are such that T becomes vanishingly small. We cannot observe the presence of T. The barrier becomes opaque. Whereas in the quantum mechanical case, these values are such that a classically opaque barrier becomes transparent and tunneling takes place. Okay. Now next we study the case when the particle is coming in with an energy greater than the value of the barrier height. So once again, in this case, our classical ideas would tell us that there is no, what do we need to study here? A particle comes with an energy which is greater than the value of the barrier height, and so it will simply pass over. What is there to study? Okay, now quantum mechanics gives a different treatment. We see that because, again, just as in the case of step potential, because of the discontinuity in the potential function present at x equal to 0 and x equal to a, there will be some modification to the wave function when it passes through these boundaries. And even though it is coming in with a value of energy greater than the barrier height, there will still be a finite probability of reflection and of course, transmission, but transmission coefficient will not be 1 and reflection coefficient will not be 0. So that is what quantum mechanics gives us, which is different from the classical treatment. So here a particle of this, so this is new. From here we start the new thing that is happening in today's class. A particle of mass m, which is moving non-relativistically, is incident from the left side and in the direction of increasing x with an energy that is more than the height of the potential. So once again, we have the treatment will be exactly similar to the case when E less than V naught. Only we will have slightly different results. But if you have gone through the treatment of E less than V naught, the treatment of E greater than V naught will be exactly similar. Okay. So we have the three wave functions in the three regions, Psi1, Psi2 and Psi3. In region 1, as usual, we solve Schrodinger equation using kappa equal to root over 2me by h naught square, and we get the general solution similar exactly to the case when E less than V naught. Then in region 2, again we solve Schrodinger equation. Just this is the only point of dissimilarity. What is it? Earlier we had E minus V naught to be a negative term because E was lesser than V naught. Here E minus V naught is a positive term because E is greater than V naught. And instead of beta, we call this constant kappa prime root over 2m E minus V naught by h cut square. And as you can see here, we have d2 psi 2 dx2 plus kappa prime square psi 2 equal to 0. So this is so you can see that the solution of this equation is something like this, which is a complex function. So in the earlier case, the solution within the barrier was not a complex function, it was an exponential function. However, now even within the barrier, the solution is an exponential, is a complex function. So the solution remains sinusoidal even within the region of the barrier. we'll discuss in some more detail later on. And then again in region 3, so Schrodinger equation is the same as in the earlier case, with kappa as the same as in region 1. And we have the general solution to be this, the complex function with the constants g and h. Of course, we will now identify the terms, and the terms are exactly almost the same as in the earlier case. We have an incident wave, we have a reflected wave. Inside the barrier now, instead of the exponentially decaying or increasing function, we have first term c to the power, there will be an I kappa prime x over here. It's a plane wave of amplitude c and wavelength 2 pi by kappa prime moving in the positive x direction in the region of the barrier. And this is a plane wave of amplitude capital D with wavelength 2 pi by kappa prime moving in the negative x direction in the region of the barrier. And then outside the barrier again we have the transmitted wave g to the power I kappa x, and we have the fourth term h e to the power minus I kappa x, which again is not possible because there is no obstacle at a position x greater than a which might reflect the particle back, so this term is not present. And finally, we have the transmitted wave function to be only g e to the power I kappa x. Okay. So we clearly see from the three expressions of the wave function psi1, psi2 and psi3 that the eigenfunction is oscillatory in all the three regions, but it has a longer wavelength in the barrier region. In the first and third region, the wavelength is governed by the value of kappa, which is where, and in the region of the barrier, the wavelength is governed by the value kappa prime, which has E minus V naught in the numerator, which of course is lesser than E, so that the wavelength is longer within the barrier region. Okay. Okay, just a second, give me 2 minutes. Just give me 2 minutes. একটু আসছি আমি, হ্যাঁ 2 মিনিট দাও।
Cost estimation comes from the monthly basis. Let's say you may have just given it 10 million transactions per month coming as a cost of
Okay, sorry for that Okay, sorry for the interruption. Are you all with me? Okay.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so where was I? Okay, here.
ম্যাম কোনো সাউন্ড আসছে?
হলো এটা? টাইম পেরিয়ে গেল নাকি?
হ্যালো,
Yes,
হ্যাঁ, কোথা থেকে কেটে গেল গো?
ম্যাম আপনার কানেকশনটা কেটে
হ্যালো
হ্যাঁ, আমার কানেকশনটা কোন স্লাইড, মানে স্লাইডের কোন জায়গা থেকে কেটে গেল? দাঁড়া, আবার শেয়ার স্ক্রিন হচ্ছে না। স্ক্রিন দেখতে পাচ্ছ কি তোমরা?
না
না
ম্যাম।
ম্যাম।
আচ্ছা, দাঁড়াও। এবার?
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম।
আচ্ছা
হ্যাঁ এবার দেখা যাচ্ছে।
আচ্ছা, তাহলে এই স্লাইডটা কি শোনা গেছিল? এই স্লাইডটা শোনা গেছিল? হ্যালো 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 হ্যালো
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম, শোনা যাচ্ছে।
হ্যাঁ, আমি বলছি এই স্লাইডটা কি পুরোটা শোনা গেছিল?
না ম্যাম।
আচ্ছা, মানে কোথা থেকে এক্স্যাক্টলি কেটেছিল তোমরা বলতে পারবে কি?
ম্যাম আপনি আসার পরে কন্টিনিউ করার ওই টাইমটার পর থেকে কেটে গেছিল।
এইগুলো হয়েছিল তো, এই তিনটে ইকুয়েশন, এই আইডেন্টিফিকেশন অফ দ্য টার্মস,
হ্যাঁ
এগুলো হয়েছিল। এই অবধি হয়েছিল তো?
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম ইউ বিল।
আচ্ছা,
হ্যাঁ এটাই।
okay, so just boundary conditions very similar to the case of E less than V naught at x equal to 0. এটা তোমাদের কাছে আগের দিনের স্লাইডটা থাকলে দেখবে একই, শুধুমাত্র বিটার জায়গায় এখানে কাপ্পা আর কনস্ট্যান্টস এর রিলেশন গুলো একটু ডিফারেন্ট বিকজ অফ দ্য ভ্যালু অফ কাপ্পা প্রাইম অ্যান্ড বিটা being different than each other. So at x equal to 0, we equate psi 1 and psi 2 and get a plus b equal to c plus d. And we equate their first derivatives to get a value of a minus b. And adding the two, we get a value of a. Subtracting the two, we get a value of b. And again at x equal to a, we equate psi 2 with psi 3, get a relation between c, d and g. Equate the first derivatives of psi 2 and psi 3 and get a relation between c, d and g again, and adding we get a value of c in terms of g, and subtracting we get a value of d in terms of g. And again I have highlighted the four relations giving us the expressions of a, b, c and d. Okay, now what I was telling, and I'm afraid I think you have missed that portion, is that from the first problem of solving Schrodinger equation for a free particle, the first problem was a particle in potential free region, and if you remember, from there only we had seen that it is not possible to find a wave function where the constant is findable. That is, the solution of Schrodinger equation remains undetermined up to the value of one multiplicative constant, because we cannot normalize to find that constant because of the particle being free in nature. Here too, although we have different complications in the potential that the particle is facing, but the particle is still free, and therefore what we are doing, if you have observed in the earlier cases, is that we are trying to express all the constants in terms of one single constant, and finally the wave function will be written in terms of that single constant. So the wave function remains arbitrary up to one multiplicative constant as long as the particle is free. All right, okay, so শোনা যাচ্ছে তো?
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম।
Okay, so now what we do is, in the earlier case we had determined the values of a, b, etc., and written the expression of the wave function, but we have to remember that we do not need to go to such complications, because ultimately we require the expressions for the reflection coefficient capital R and the transmission coefficient capital T, and they are simply ratios of the constants. So we determine the ratio b by a, which you can see is in terms of d by c, and we know that d by c is also a ratio just in terms of kappa and kappa prime. So we find b by a in terms of kappa and kappa prime, and b by a star in terms of kappa and kappa prime. And we remember that in the first region the particle is free, so this is the expression of the probability current density, so which simply gives me b by a mod square, the reflection coefficient, to be, and so the value of the reflection coefficient in this case, b by a mod square in terms of kappa and kappa prime, boils down to something like this in terms of sine square kappa prime a. Remember, in the case of E less than V naught, we had sine hyperbolic because there was an exponential function within the barrier. Here, in all the three regions, the function is complex. Therefore, we do not have the hyperbolic function. We simply have the sinusoidal function. Okay. Next, in region 3, again, the particle is free. So we have the expression of probability current density as something like this, so that the transmission coefficient is just the ratio is given by the ratio of G and A. So the transmission coefficient is given by G by A mod square, and using the values of kappa and kappa prime in terms of E and V naught, the substitutions that we had made during solving Schrodinger equation in the three regions are this: capital R equal to 1 plus 4E into E minus V naught by V0 square sine square kappa prime A whole inverse, and capital T equal to 1 plus V0 square sine square kappa prime A by 4E E minus V naught whole inverse. So once again, if you add capital R and capital T, you'll see that you'll get 1, which is in accordance with our concept of conservation of particle or mass or energy. The calculations are again done in the Word file, and for more details calculation, please refer to this website that I've given, tdsderivationsblogspot.com. The calculation of the rectangular potential barrier is given in details in this website. So please refer to this in case you need any reference or in case you need to check on any step that I have done in my Word file. Okay, I hope this will help you. All right. So with these results in our hand, now we will go on to discuss the points related to the case of the rectangular potential barrier. Okay, we see that again as E approaches V naught. So we know that E is greater than V naught in this case. But if we reduce the value of the incident energy slowly so that it comes towards the value of V naught, we again see that kappa prime A tends to 0, which means that sine kappa prime A tends to kappa prime A, and so we get an expression for sine square kappa A, which in turn gives us an expression of 1 by T, so that the value of the transmission coefficient when E tends to V naught is like this. If you remember, this is the exact value that we had obtained when E was less than V naught and approaching V naught. So whether the value of the kinetic energy of the approaching particle is lesser than V naught or more than V naught, when the value of the energy of the incident particle approaches the value of the potential barrier, the transmission coefficient will have a unique expression, and that is given by this. It is still less than 1. So even when the particle approaches with a value of energy same as that of V naught, it will still be transmitted. If it has a value of E greater than V naught, it will still be transmitted. Okay, now let's check something very interesting. What happens if this kappa prime A becomes equal to integral multiple of pi? Since we have a sinusoidal function in the expression, let's check what kappa prime A, what happens when kappa prime A is equal to integral multiple of pi. This means A equal to n pi by kappa prime, and you put the value of kappa prime to get this expression. But then de Broglie wavelength is given by h by p, right? And p square by 2m equal to total energy. So you get a value of p, and if you put that, if you do that little bit of algebra yourself and put that in the expression of de Broglie wavelength, you will see that lambda prime is equal to h by root over 2m e minus v naught. Can you relate these two expressions, the value of a and the value of lambda prime? So we see that basically if kappa prime A equal to n pi, then A becomes equal to n lambda prime by 2. Now what happens when kappa prime A becomes equal to n pi? When kappa prime A becomes equal to n pi, capital T, the transmission coefficient becomes 1. That is, it is only under this condition that the particle will be totally transmitted to region 3. Okay, so it is only under this condition that the sign term becomes 0 and transmission coefficient becomes 1. So there is perfect transmission. We saw till now that whatever be the energy of the incident particle, if it is less than V naught, there will be transmission. If it is equal to V naught, there will be transmission. Even if it is greater than V naught, there will be transmission. But the value of the transmission coefficient will gradually increase when the energy of the incident particle increases. But when we expect total transmission, that is when the value of the energy is equal to V naught or greater than it, even then, using quantum mechanical treatment, we saw that there is partial transmission. So we now see that total transmission or perfect transmission will take place only when the width of the barrier is half integral multiple of the de Broglie wavelength of the particle in the barrier region. This is a very, very important concept. When will perfect transmission take place? Only when the value of the width of the barrier is half integral multiple of the de Broglie wavelength of the particle in the barrier region. It is only then that it will be totally transmitted. Okay, so this is basically the picture when the incident wave is having an energy greater than the barrier height. We saw that when the energy was lesser than the barrier height, it came here and then exponentially decayed, got tunneled through the barrier, and then it came out in the region 3. When it is coming in with an energy more than the barrier height, then it comes, part of it gets reflected. There is also propagation and reflection in the barrier region, and again propagation and reflection in the region 3. So in all three regions, it is a plane wave, but in the region of the barrier, see, the wavelength is longer. The wavelength in region 1 and region 3 are the same, but shorter than the wavelength in region 2. This sort of cartoon picture is a very, very expressive description of the situation when particle is incident with energy greater than the value of V naught. And finally, we have a comparison of the reflection coefficient and transmission coefficient for different values. You see, whatever be the case, when E by V naught tends to 0, that is E is much, much less than V naught, there is total reflection. Okay, so this is reflection. And then it slowly asymptotically reaches 0 as E by V naught goes to infinity. That is, as E approaches V naught and then becomes greater than V naught. So this here, the curve on which my cursor is now is the reflection coefficient. Towards 1, when E by V naught is 0, and then slowly approaching 0 asymptotically. Whereas it's just the opposite for the transmission coefficient. When E by V naught is very small, that is E much, much smaller than V naught, there is almost no transmission, and then it jumps to a high value, and then as E by V naught goes to infinity, the transmission coefficient asymptotically approaches 1. Is this picture clear to everybody, or do you need me to explain it once more? আরেকবার কি বলতে হবে এই গ্রাফটা?
No, ma'am, it's clear.
Go through it once more after the class, and I can. All right. Okay. So now that we have done the barrier potential in all its totality for particle coming with energy less than barrier height and particle coming in with energy greater than barrier height, we will now move over to an application of barrier penetration, and this is known as alpha. This application is basically alpha decay, where you all know the process of alpha decay. You have studied it in your chemistry lessons. We will only see how alpha decay is explained using barrier penetration, and why at all we need to take the help of quantum mechanics to explain alpha decay. Okay, so what is alpha decay? Basically, in alpha decay, we have a parent nucleus of mass number A and atomic number Z, which gives rise to a daughter nucleus of mass number A minus 4 and atomic number Z minus 2, along with an alpha particle, okay, where mass number is 4 and atomic number is 2. So basically this is a nuclear phenomena, and if you just take a look at the alpha particle that is coming out, it has 2 protons and 2 neutrons, so that its mass is 4, and since proton is the positive particle, neutron is the neutral particle, its charge is 2. So this is what is happening in alpha decay, and all of you know this perhaps better than me because you have recently studied it in chemistry. I have studied it long back, so I do not know the chemistry details of alpha decay much. And this is the radioactive equation which shows what happens in an alpha decay. All right. So now we have to see why do we need a quantum mechanical approach to study this alpha decay. Now, it is, you can see that clearly the alpha particle is coming out from the nucleus. Okay, the He42 particle, it comes out from the nucleus, and obviously either it was there in the nucleus or it was formed at the point of coming out, but whatever be the case, it is there in the nucleus for some time. Either it was already there and it came out after getting some energy, or it was formed at the moment of emission and then it came out. Now, when the alpha particle is there inside the nucleus, what are the forces acting on it? Let us identify. First is the very, very strong but short-ranged nuclear forces. The alpha particle is surrounded by other nucleons, and therefore the short-range, extremely strong nuclear forces are acting on it, and we know that these short-range nuclear forces are attractive in nature. But what is the other force that is acting on it? It's the weak but long-ranged Coulomb forces. Since the alpha particle has a positive charge, 2 positive charges in fact, therefore it will face Coulomb repulsion from the surrounding protons. The protons are also positively charged. The alpha particle also has positive charge on it. Therefore, the Coulomb repulsive force will act on it. We know that the Coulomb force is electrostatic in nature, and therefore it is a weak force, but it is a long-ranged force. Whereas the nuclear forces, attractive in nature, is a very, very strong force, but nuclear forces are short range. They act only within the nucleus, whereas Coulomb force can act for a very, very long distance too, although it becomes weaker with distance. So these are the 2 forces that act on the alpha particle when it is inside the nucleus. So how can we determine the potential that is acting on the alpha particle? The potential acting on the alpha particle looks like this. Okay, so basically you see this is the surface of the nucleus. All right, and from the center of the nucleus up to the surface, the particle faces an attractive potential due to the short-range nuclear forces. And therefore, the potential will be negative because it is attractive. But from the so and within the nucleus, the short range nuclear forces will dominate over the Coulomb repulsion. But once it is outside the nucleus, the Coulomb repulsion will dominate. So from the surface onwards, there will be a Coulomb repulsive force, which of course goes down with distance. You can see this is the radial distance. So as you take any particle, not only the alpha particle, as you take any particle away from the nucleus, the Coulomb repulsive force will slowly die out with radius, but it will be there for a long time, or rather for a large distance. Okay, so this hill here represents the Coulomb potential, whereas this steep well-like potential represents the nuclear forces. Is this picture clear to everybody? So at R less than R naught, the potential is a well of depth V naught, which is the potential due to the nuclear attractive forces. And at R greater than R naught, we have the potential equal to this value. I hope all of you can identify this expression. This is our very known Coulomb repulsion. Value of the nucleus when it has got rid of the alpha particle, the atomic number is Z minus 2. So charge of the nucleus is Z minus 2 into E, whereas value of the charge of the alpha particle is 2E. So Q1, Q2 is 2E into Z minus 2 into E, and distance between the alpha particle and the nucleus is small r. So this is the Coulomb repulsive force acting between a particular the positively charged nucleus and the positively charged alpha particle. So this is the potential due to Coulombic repulsion, where of course this R0 is the effective nuclear radius. All right. So as the value of small r decreases, suppose you are trying to bring a particle from this side towards the nucleus. So what you are doing is slowly the value of r is being decreased. But as the value of r decreases, the Coulomb repulsion will keep increasing, which means that it will become a maximum at r equal to r0, that is at the surface, because beyond the surface, once you are inside the nucleus, then the nuclear force will start dominating. The Coulomb repulsion will become a secondary force over there. So the maximum value of the Coulomb repulsion is at r equal to r0. That is what is shown in this figure. So the value of this Coulomb repulsion at this point is given by this 2z minus 2e square by 4 pi epsilon naught r naught. There will be a 0 over here. So this is the value of the Coulomb repulsion at the surface of the nucleus. Now if you calculate this, taking a practical example, say uranium. We know that uranium is a radioactive element. So if you calculate this potential value for uranium, taking into consideration all these constants that are known and the effective nuclear radius for uranium, it comes out to be about 26 mega electron volts, a quite high value. Okay, so the Coulomb potential for uranium comes to be of the order of 26 mega electron volts. This is known as the Coulomb barrier. Why it is known as a Coulomb barrier? See, it has been seen that when an alpha particle is free, that is outside the nucleus, if you measure its kinetic energy, it comes out to be of the order of maximum 5 to 6 mega electron volts. Okay, so you see that is much smaller than the value of 26 mega electron volt. So in this picture here, when the alpha particle is somewhere over here, it has a energy, kinetic energy of about 5 to 6 mega electron volt, and it is approaching towards a Coulomb barrier which has a value of about almost 26 to 30 mega electron volt. Can you identify the problem? চেনা চেনা লাগছে কি প্রবলেমটা? হ্যালো হ্যালো
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম।
হ্যাঁ মানে আমি বলেই যাচ্ছি আর তোমরা কিছু শুনতে পাচ্ছ কিনা বুঝতে পারছি না, সেই জন্য একটু মাঝে মাঝে আমার লস্ট লাগে।
আমি বলছি যে আলফা
হ্যাঁ
পার্টিকেলের ডিরেক্ট আউটওয়ার্ড ডিরেকশনটা তো আউটওয়ার্ড হবে, তো
না আমি
পোটেনশিয়াল
হ্যাঁ
পোটেনশিয়াল
ডিরেকশন
রিপালশন ব্যারিয়ারটাও আউটওয়ার্ড, তো ওটা কি অপোজ করবে ওর এমিশন মানে ট্রান্সমিশনটাকে?
না, সেটা আমি পরে আসছি। আমি এখন বলছি যে ধরো এইরকম একটা নিউক্লিয়াস আছে যার এরকম একটা সারফেস থেকে আউটার সাইডে একটা এরকম কুলাম্ব পোটেনশিয়াল এক্সিস্ট করে। এবার আমি বাইরের থেকে একটা আলফা পার্টিকেল ধরো নিয়ে আসছি। হ্যাঁ, এবার আলফা পার্টিকেলের ইন্ডিপেন্ডেন্টলি কাইনেটিক এনার্জি মেজার করে দেখা গেছে যে ওর কাইনেটিক এনার্জিটা 5 থেকে 6 কি বড় জোর 10 মেগা ইলেকট্রন ভোল্টের বেশি হয় না। সুতরাং ও যখন অ্যাপ্রোচ করছে তখন ইট ইজ বেসিক্যালি ফেসিং আ ব্যারিয়ার which the height of which is much higher than its kinetic energy. যখন ও নিউক্লিয়াসের ভেতরেও আছে তখনও ওর কাইনেটিক এনার্জিটা তো এর থেকে বেশি হবে না, ওই 5-6। তার মানে ও যদি নিউক্লিয়াসের ভেতর থেকেও সারফেসের দিকে আসে, মানে আমি বলতে চাইছি যে এক সেকেন্ড, আমি বলতে চাইছি যে পার্টিকেলটা যদি এদিক থেকে আসে, ওর এনার্জি 5 কি 6 মেগা ইলেকট্রন ভোল্ট, তাহলে ইট ইজ ফেসিং আ ব্যারিয়ার অফ হাইট which is much more than its energy. When it is inside, then also if it approaches the wall, it is facing a barrier which has a height which is much more than its energy. All right, so in both cases, when it is approaching the Coulomb barrier, it has its kinetic energy to be much lesser than the value of the Coulomb barrier. So classically, it is impossible for such an alpha particle to overcome the Coulomb barrier and come out from the nucleus, as it is impossible for it to enter the nucleus from anywhere outside the nucleus because of the Coulomb barrier that is present. All right. So this is what I am talking about basically. I've taken this picture from the internet. It explains very clearly what we are talking about. See, they have taken two examples, one of uranium and the other of tellurium. For both, they have calculated the value of the barrier height. It's for one it is 29.7 and for the other it is 21.8. So basically, for such radioactive nuclei, the Coulomb barrier is of the order of 20 to 40 mega electron volt. So when the alpha particle is inside the nucleus, it is facing a barrier of height much larger than its energy, so it will come back. If it is coming from outside, it's also facing a barrier of height larger than its kinetic energy, and so it cannot enter. So classically, the alpha particle cannot escape, the alpha particle cannot enter. Okay, so this dotted line shows the kinetic energy of the alpha particle, and this of course is the potential energy of the alpha particle. Okay, so the only possibility that the alpha particle might come out of its trapped condition inside the nucleus is by tunneling. Okay, the particle cannot jump over this barrier and come out. It is only possible for the particle to come out of the nucleus if it can tunnel through this barrier. All right, and therefore classically alpha particle emission cannot be explained, because tunneling is not a classical phenomenon. So this person, George Gamow, he applied the newly postulated quantum mechanics formulae in 1928 to explain the alpha particle emission from radioactive nuclei. And this is perhaps the first application of barrier penetration or tunneling. The other application, of course, is tunnel diode. See, what of course he said was that the alpha particle tunnels through the Coulomb barrier to come outside the nucleus. So how do we do the mathematics? Little bit. You see, if r be the distance at now, of course, this potential of the alpha particle has to be equal to the kinetic energy at some point, all right? So if r be the value at which Vr is equal to E, then we can put the expressions of the Coulomb potential, equate it with the kinetic energy, and get an expression for R. Usually, this R is much, much greater than R0, the effective nuclear radius. So this happens at a distance much further away than the surface of the nucleus. So it can be seen that for polonium, for example, the value of energy, kinetic energy of the alpha particle is about 5.4 mega electron volt, whereas it is seen that capital R is 43 femtometer. R0, the effective nuclear radius, is 6.5 femtometer. Why are we doing this calculation? To show that the barrier is pretty thick. It's not a very thin barrier that it quickly, penetrates and comes out to the third region. It is encountering a pretty thick barrier, because R to R0 is almost about 40 femtometer in case of polonium. For different nuclei, the value of R and R0 will be different, but in general, R is much, much greater than R0. And you can calculate the value of the transmission coefficient, and that comes in terms of V0 and E. It's an exponentially decaying term. So basically what is happening is the alpha particle is inside the nucleus, it is oscillating, and then it tunnels through the Coulomb barrier and then comes out with a smaller amplitude but same wavelength. Okay, so this is the tunneling model of alpha particle emission. In reality, it is not as simple as this really. It is not as simple as this, because you see the tunnel, the barrier width is pretty thick as we discussed. So in reality, what happens is the barrier is broken down into infinitesimal wells, or rather barriers. This Coulomb barrier, see, it has been disintegrated into smaller barriers. Okay, so you have to treat one barrier at a time. Particle comes here, tunnels through this barrier, enters another barrier, tunnels through this barrier, enters another barrier, and finally when it comes to region 3, it again oscillates and propagates as a plane wave. So what happens is a series of adjacent, this is shown for 5 segments, a series of adjacent rectangular barriers of heights Vr and infinitesimally small width delta Ri are taken, so that now in order to get the expression of the transmission coefficient, you do an integration from R0 to R. R0 is the nuclear radius, the surface from which tunneling starts taking place, and R is the value at which it finally can come out and enter region 3. And in terms of R0 and R, this is the expression of the transmission coefficient. Okay, since R0 by R is much, much less than 1, we can write the transmission coefficient as something like this. All in terms of constants, so can be determined by putting the value of the constants. What is important is that we have to understand what exactly is happening. The alpha particle cannot, it is not like it is coming to the wall and at once it is sort of boring a hole and coming out at the other end. It keeps, you have to remember that when it is inside the nucleus, it is still an oscillating wave. So it keeps bouncing back and forth and strike the barrier wall again and again periodically till it finally overcomes these small infinitesimal barriers and emission occurs on the other side of the nucleus. Okay, so that is the theory of alpha particle emission. You need not, you do not need to, show the integration or know the mathematics by heart, but you need to understand first of all why quantum mechanics was required, because it could not be explained, the coming out of alpha particle could not be explained by anything other than tunneling. And then you need to know qualitatively, conceptually, how quantum mechanics was used to sort of calculate the different steps using which the alpha particle finally came out of the nucleus. All right. So again, the calculations mostly have been done in your notes, and please go through that website that I've given you, in which they have done some rigorous calculations for you to follow. Any questions?
ম্যাম ওই যেটা বলছিলাম যে আলফা পার্টিকেল তো রিপালশনের কারণে বাইরে বেরিয়ে আসছে, আর কুলম্ব ব্যারিয়ারটাও রিপালসিভ ব্যারিয়ার, তো ওটা কি অপোজ করবে ও ট্রান্সমিশনটা নাকি ইজিলি বেরিয়ে যাবে?
না, you cannot really say that alpha particle repulsion এর কারণে বেরিয়ে আসছে। আলফা পার্টিকেলটা মানে দেখো, সব নিউক্লিয়াস থেকে তো আলফা পার্টিকেল বেরোয় না, কিছু সার্টেন স্পেশাল নিউক্লিয়াস আছে যার থেকে আলফা পার্টিকেল, বিটা পার্টিকেল, গামা পার্টিকেল এক্সেট্রা বেরোয়। এবারে আলফা পার্টিকেলটা বেরোচ্ছে যখন, তখন তার মানে ও নিউক্লিয়াসের ভেতরে কখনো না কখনো ছিল, কতক্ষণের জন্য ছিল জানি না, সেই মুহূর্তে তৈরি হয়েছে কিনা জানি না, বাট একটা ফাইনাইট টাইমের জন্য নিউক্লিয়াসের ভেতরে ছিল। এবার যখন নিউক্লিয়াসের ভেতরে ছিল তখন তো ওর ওপর অ্যাট্রাকটিভ, রিপালসিভ দু রকমের ফোর্সই কাজ করছে, কিন্তু যখন নিউক্লিয়াসের ভেতরে ছিল তখন ওর ওপর অ্যাট্রাকটিভ ফোর্স যেটা কাজ করছে সেটা অনেক বেশি দ্যান কুলম্ব রিপালশন, বিকজ nuclear forces are several times orders of magnitude stronger than Coulomb forces. But somehow if this particle is coming out from a radioactive nuclei, তখন আমরা দেখতে চাইছি যে কেন হঠাৎ, কি করে হঠাৎ এই পার্টিকেলটা বেরোলো। এবার কি করে বেরোলোটা ক্যালকুলেট করতে গিয়ে দেখা যাচ্ছে যে ক্লাসিক্যাল ট্রিটমেন্টে কোনোভাবেই ওর পক্ষে বেরোনো সম্ভব না। কুলম্ব রিপালশন কখনোই ওকে অ্যাসিস্ট করছে না। কুলম্ব রিপালশন ইজ অ্যাক্টিং অ্যাজ আ ব্যারিয়ার, বিকজ দ্য কুলম্ব রিপালসিভ ব্যারিয়ার, as you can see, is of a height which is much more than the kinetic energy of an alpha particle. কুলম্ব রিপালশন কখনোই ওকে অ্যাসিস্ট করছে না, কুলম্ব রিপালশন ওকে বেরোতে দেবে না। ঠিক আছে? It is a barrier, it is a barrier. Barrier মানেই তোমাকে সে আটকাচ্ছে, সে তোমায় কখনোই অ্যাসিস্ট করবে না।
ওই ডিরেকশনটা নিয়ে একটু গুলিয়ে গেছিল, যে দুটো ডিরেকশনটা আউটওয়ার্ড, তো ওই কারণে বললাম।
হ্যাঁ, আউটওয়ার্ড, কিন্তু কুলম্বের এটা হচ্ছে, মানে এটাকে তুমি কুলম্ব মানে কুলম্ব ফোর্স, মানে এখানে একটু you have to change your point of view. Instead of viewing it as a Coulomb force, you consider the potential due to the Coulomb force. Okay, the potential is of a value which is much more than the energy of the incoming alpha particle that is impinging on the barrier. So যেইও alpha particle-টা কোনো রকমে oscillate করতে করতে নিউক্লিয়াসের সারফেসে এসে পৌঁছচ্ছে, ওকে কিন্তু সঙ্গে সঙ্গে ধাক্কা খেতে হচ্ছে কুলম্ব ব্যারিয়ারের সাথে। কুলম্ব ব্যারিয়ার ওকে তো রিপালস করে রিপেল করবে, ওকে ফেরত পাঠিয়ে দেবে। হ্যাঁ, তাও বাইরে আসছে, ওকে রিপেল করে ফেরত পাঠিয়ে দিচ্ছে, প্লাস এর হাইট এত বড়, তাও এ বাইরে আসছে কিভাবে না, ইট ইজ টানেলিং থ্রু দ্য কুলম্ব ব্যারিয়ার। ওকে, so this is the theory and it is only using this tunneling mechanism that you can explain alpha decay. ঠিক আছে, তো I just thought that এরপরে আর এই bound states মানে the other portion of application of Schrodinger equation ওটা start করাটা logical নয়। So
देखो याद है, हाँ गलत, देखो याद है,
hello,
आगे का है
okay, so let that be all for today. I've sent you the doc file as well as the PDF file, and in next week's class we'll go to the other portion of calculation of application of Schrodinger equation, আর ওখানে গিয়ে দেখবো যে we are getting মানে this was also interesting, we got to know new things, but when you start studying bound particles applying Schrodinger equation, we'll see that we will get much more interesting results that we have not encountered earlier, like quantization, etc., which are the essences of quantum mechanics. So let that be all for today. আর যে রেকর্ডিং করেছো একটু আমাকে প্লিজ